And when you get that up, you know that more or less ensures a nomination because up there, probably only 10 parts of any size. John Wayne never served in World War II, but he fought a secret war nobody knew about. In the 1950s, Soviet assassins were hunting him across America. They tried to kill him in his office on movie sets, even sent snipers to Mexico. Wayne refused FBI protection and faced them himself. He pulled a gun on 2 KGB agents and said something that broke them completely. The story stayed hidden for decades until a famous director spilled the secret at a dinner party. But the real question remains, was this legendary showdown actually true or Hollywood's greatest myth? John Wayne was born on May 26, 1907, in a tiny house at 224 South 2nd Street in Winneray, Iowa. The local paper reported he weighed 13 pounds, which shocked everyone back then. His father, Clyde, worked as a pharmacist, but not a successful one. He barely made more than a store clerk, and they were always short on money. His mother, Mary, came from Nebraska, and she had dreams, but none of them were easy to reach in that small Iowa town. Clyde had a good-looking face and a smile that women noticed, but charm couldn't pay bills. He kept opening drugstores that kept failing. By 1910, they were bankrupt and living with Mary's parents in Des Moines, just trying to stay afloat. The family moved 5 times in 7 years. Just across Iowa alone, from Winterray to Brooklyn to Earlham to Keokuk and back again. In 1914, when Marion was only 7, their last home in Brooklyn caught fire from a stove spark. That was the final sign. They packed what they could and moved to California. That fire stayed in his memory forever. By 1916, they were living in Glendale at 404 Isabel Street. Marion had one true friend, a huge Airedale Terrier named Duke, who followed him everywhere. They were inseparable. A local fireman saw them pass each day and started calling him Little Duke and the dog Big Duke. Marion liked that much more than his birth name, which he thought sounded soft. So, he became Duke from that day on, and it stuck. In high school, Marion Morrison was not just big, he stood 6'4" and played football like a train with no brakes. He was smart, too. He led the Latin Society, wrote for the school paper, and debated with the best of them. In 1925, he got a scholarship to play football at USC, and it seemed like life was finally turning around. But one day, while body surfing at Huntington Beach, he took a hard fall. His collarbone snapped. He told the coach a made-up story to hide the accident, but the truth didn't matter. He couldn't play like he used to. They took away his scholarship. He had no money. He had no choice but to drop out in May 1927. While still at USC, he took a job at Fox Studios as a prop boy for $35 a week. It was barely enough to survive. He did everything. Carried furniture, helped electricians, moved animals. He even worked as an extra in 9 silent films between 1925 and 1929. None of them credited him. Nobody knew his name. In one of those films, he played a rich Ivy League football player, even though he could barely afford rent in real life in May 1927. With nothing left, he tried to escape it all by sneaking onto a ship to Hawaii. He got caught and was sent back in June. Broke and embarrassed, he went straight to John Ford and begged for any job. He had one lucky break. In 1930, director Raoul Walsh needed someone to star in The Big Trail. He saw Wayne moving furniture and chose him on the spot. But Marion Morrison didn't sound like a leading man. Walsh liked the name Anthony Wayne after the American general, but the studio rejected it. So, they settled on John Wayne, and the decision was made without asking him. He had no say in the name that would become famous around the world. One day he was a nameless prop boy. The next he was John Wayne, the face of a $1 million Western. But The Big Trail was a disaster. Fox shot it in a fancy widescreen format called 70mm, but almost no theater in the country had the right equipment. It cost $2 million to make. It flopped hard. Wayne took the blame. He was blacklisted from big studios and shoved into low-budget B-movies. From 1930 to 1939, he made more than 80 of them, earning about $75 per film. Some were shot in just 4 days. In one film he had to sing. The problem, he couldn't sing at all. The voice was so awkward, it became a joke. He wore the same costume in several films because they couldn't afford more. It was a grind. It was humiliating. But he didn't stop. He did all his own stunts. Back then, that meant pain. He had to fall off galloping horses using a cruel trick called the running W. They tied wires to the horses' legs to trip them. The horses often broke their legs. Wayne got thrown, slammed into rocks, and hurt his back permanently. But there was no stuntman, no safety net, just him taking every hit for the sake of a paycheck. Years later, he refused to ever work on films that used those brutal tricks again. He couldn't forget what he saw. In 1934, he worked closely with Yakima Gannett, a fearless rodeo star who taught him how to walk like a cowboy, talk like one, and ride like one, too. During one stunt in The Lucky Texan, Wayne tried to jump from a horse to a wagon. He missed. He slammed face first into a rock. His jaw scar and slightly crooked nose came from that crash. They never fully healed, but they became part of his look. He kept going, learning how to throw fake punches and fall just right. so it looked real without getting killed. Then everything changed in 1939. John Ford gave him another chance in Stagecoach. The budget was $546,200. Not small, but not huge either. They filmed in Monument Valley, and when Wayne appeared on screen as the Ringo Kid holding a saddle in one hand and spinning a Winchester in the other, everything clicked. That shot, zooming into his 6'4" frame, made him look like he owned the screen. The movie made $1.1 million in the US, and Wayne went from B-movie actor to major star. Behind the scenes, Ford was ruthless. He yelled at Wayne in front of the crew, mocked his walk, told him he acted like a poached egg. His health was perfect, but he claimed he had 4 children depending on him. That earned him a 3A deferment. So while real soldiers left for war, John Wayne put on a costume and became one in movies. In 1942, he starred in Flying Tigers as Captain Jim Gordon, a brave American pilot fighting in China. Theaters were packed and people cheered for the hero on screen. But in real life, many weren't cheering. Behind closed doors, studio boss Herbert Yates told Wayne not to enlist. He said if Wayne joined the military, Republic Pictures would sue him. Wayne was their only major star, and they needed him to keep making money. Later, when Wayne's draft status was changed to 1A, meaning he was fit to serve, Hollywood stepped in again. They got him reclassified as 2A, claiming he was vital to the nation's interests through film. The government agreed, and just like that, the man who looked like America's hero on screen never had to risk his life off screen. That gap between image and truth followed him forever. 2 years later, in 1944, The Fighting CBS hit theaters. Wayne's character dies in a bulldozer explosion, sacrificing himself for the war effort. Audiences wept. But when the film crew visited military zones in the South Pacific, real servicemen weren't impressed. Some even tried to start fights with Wayne, angry he had skipped out on real danger. Even though the movie was nominated for an Academy Award, many veterans couldn't separate the actor from the truth. Wayne played a man who gave his life for his country, but his own draft deferment said he was too important to leave California. The truth was, Wayne was living a very different kind of war back in Hollywood. During the filming of Seven Sinners in 1940, he met Marlene Dietrich. She wasn't just beautiful, she was bold. The moment she saw Wayne, she told the director, "Buy me that." They began a fiery affair. Even though Wayne was married and had 3 kids, he tried to juggle both lives. Husband and father in one hand, Hollywood romance in the other. His wife Josephine suffered in silence. She filed for separation in 1943 and finally for divorce in 1944. The court ruled in her favor, saying Wayne had caused her physical and emotional pain. The split cost him $100,000, which would be over $1.5 million today. The affair with Dietrich had consumed him. Some even believe it was part of the reason he didn't enlist. He couldn't bear to leave her. While American soldiers were bleeding in Europe and the Pacific, Wayne was filming Back to Bataan in 1945. He played a colonel leading Filipino guerrillas against Japan. But this time, the criticism got louder. He had made 13 war-related films while never stepping foot on a battlefield. Veterans saw the timing of the film, just after Germany surrendered, as deeply insulting. It felt like Wayne was cashing in on other men's suffering. Theaters still filled up. The movie made millions. But Wayne's image as a war hero was now built on fiction, and people knew it. He began receiving letters, hundreds of them. Many called him a coward. Some called him worse. The guilt tore at him. His third wife Pearler once said he spent the rest of his life trying to prove he wasn't weak. During the Cold War, he went to extremes. He didn't just support anti-communist politics, he became a symbol of them. He backed the House Un-American Activities Committee. He starred in films that pushed their message. He tried to join the OSS, the group that became the CIA, just to prove he could serve. They rejected him, but he wouldn't stop trying to prove he was loyal. He toured USO bases in 1943 and 1944. Shaking hands with soldiers who had done what he never had. The shame never left him. In 1948, he starred in Red River, a film that would become a classic. But behind the scenes, he clashed with director Howard Hawks, and the set was full of tension. Wayne played a man far older than himself, a hard rancher fighting to control a cattle drive. His performance shocked people. Even John Ford, his old director, admitted he didn't know Wayne could act like that. The movie earned 2 Oscar nominations, but even in triumph, Wayne's past chased him. His personal life kept unraveling. After divorcing Josephine, he married Esperanza Bauer. That marriage also ended badly with accusations of violence, cheating, and drinking. In 1952, while scouting in Peru, he met Peru. She was younger, married, and mesmerizing. They began an affair that turned into Wayne's third marriage. But even that didn't last. By 1971, they had separated. They never divorced, but Wayne kept her out of his estate. When he died in 1979, he had 3 failed marriages and 6 kids. The tabloids followed every detail. In 1956, Wayne starred in The Searchers, playing a racist Civil War veteran obsessed with vengeance. The role was dark and raw, and it felt disturbingly real. Wayne had already made comments about Native Americans in interviews that sounded like the character he was playing. Critics praised the film's boldness, but others noticed the overlap between the man and the role. Wayne wasn't just playing someone filled with hate. He was reflecting a part of himself. In 1960, he made The Alamo, a movie he directed, produced, and partly financed. He believed it would be his legacy, but it nearly ruined him. The budget exploded past $12 million. He had to take out loans, mortgages, even risk his personal cars to finish it. The movie was cursed with accidents. One actor broke his foot. A background actor died in a domestic incident. Wayne was forced to testify in court. The film won an Oscar for sound, but it flopped financially. Wayne lost money and confidence. He still couldn't shake the draft dodger label. So in 1952, he made Big Jim Land, a film that glorified whack and turned communist hunting into a heroic mission. He didn't just act in it, he produced it. It was his first time stepping behind the camera as a studio boss. Critics mocked it, but Wayne got what he wanted. He made himself the face of the anti-communist fight. That same year, he helped push Carl Foreman, the writer of High Noon, out of the country. Foreman had refused to name names to whack. Wayne didn't forgive him. When Gary Cooper teamed up with Foreman, Wayne threatened him. Cooper won an Oscar for High Noon. Wayne still claimed he never regretted exiling the man who wrote it. Wayne's obsession with anti-communism got even darker. He joined the John Birch Society, a group convinced the government was already under communist control. They believed President Eisenhower was a Soviet agent. Wayne eventually left the group, but he never softened. He called communists enemies of freedom. He feuded with Kirk Douglas, who helped break the blacklist by hiring writer Dalton Trumbo. Wayne even believed Stalin had tried to assassinate him. Rumors swirled that Wayne was an FBI informant. He allegedly named names behind the scenes, helping blacklist actors like Philip Liu, unable to find work. Took his own life in 1955. He had a sick son to care for. He couldn't do it without income. Wayne's alliance helped create the system that destroyed him. The blacklist ruined hundreds of lives, and Wayne helped enforce it. In 1964, the cost of years of chain smoking caught up to him. Doctors found a tumor the size of a golf ball on his left lung. He was smoking up to 5 packs a day when they discovered it. He lost a lung and part of his ribs in surgery. But even then, he didn't fully quit. He kept appearing in Camel ads, still holding cigarettes. His breathing never recovered. For the next 15 years, every film, every scene came with pain. In 1968, he co-directed The Green Berets, a full-blown propaganda film during the Vietnam War. Audiences loved it. Protesters hated it. At the New York premiere, people waved Vietcong flags. The movie was loud, violent, and full of explosives. Crew members were injured on set. Critics slammed it, but the box office saved it. Wayne didn't care about the backlash. He wanted to tell America it was still strong. In 1969, he played Rooster Cogburn in True Grit. The film earned him his only Oscar. He was 62, weakened from cancer, and struggling to breathe. During filming, he collapsed from exhaustion. Production paused for a week while he recovered in a hospital, but he finished the movie, and the public embraced him again. It was his final triumph, but behind the scenes, his body was giving up. In 1979, after gallbladder surgery, doctors found stomach cancer. It had already spread. They removed his stomach. He tried to begin treatment, but he was too weak. He died 5 months later at age 72. His final film, The Shootist, made in 1976, told the story of a dying gunfighter. It mirrored his own life more than anyone wanted to admit. In 1971, 8 years before his death, Wayne gave an interview to Playboy that would destroy his legacy. He said he believed in white supremacy until black people were educated enough. He said he didn't feel guilty about slavery. He called Native Americans selfish. Feel guilty about slavery. He called Native Americans selfish.